going on, Greg?
Hey.
How's it going, Greg?
Just getting the tech in
You
order.
guys see me? Oh, good. I do have video. Perfect.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, Corey, I'm representing, man.
I was just about to say, I love the hat.
I gotta get a new one, man. It's all sun faded. I gotta retire this bad boy. I'm bringing it to Punta Cana for one last spin.
I actually might be heading up to Quebec City next Thursday night. Maybe I could swing by.
Quebec City. Why would you want to go there? Yuck.
There's another veteran-owned business out there, actually, Original Garage Moto.
Okay.
So I'm picking up a trailer from them. But yeah, it's going to be pretty cold. We're going to go for some real poutine, as Sam says.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. You'll get it there. Quebec does have probably the best poutine I've ever had.
Yeah.
Hands down. I won't, but next Thursday, yeah, I'll be around. I get back on Tuesday next week. So
from hunting?
No. We're going to Punta Cana for a week, man. We're
you're leaving before that?
Tomorrow morning, yeah. We're leaving tomorrow morning.
Awesome.
Fun in the sun. Yeah, it's gonna be good. Yeah, so if you're passing through Montreal, drop me a message. You can have a little pit stop here. We're on Highway 20, so if you're taking the 20 all the way through, which I recommend.
Cool. Yeah, I'll shoot you a text.
Yeah, I'm literally right off the highway. You can't miss me. So.
Right on.
I can't see myself. Where am I?
I'm gonna drop the link into the comments on Facebook in case some of the Facebook folks want to join us live on Zoom and they're in checking email.
Greg, we're going to do the protocol that you mentioned. When it's my time to do my little thing, you'll just switch over me to co-host and I'll be able to present.
Yeah. That's fine. You want to go after my intro, or do you want?
Yeah. This is your show, man.
Okay.
Yeah. But too much pressure for me to headline.
So it's 7 o'clock sharp. We have how many on the call? Yeah, so I have 13 on Zoom, and there's more people joining on Facebook Live. So we should have a good representation. If you are on Zoom, please mute yourself, just so that we don't have background noise. I'm going to mute a few people. All right, awesome. So yeah, just give some stragglers maybe a minute or two to get started. Meanwhile, just drop in the chat where you're from. We already have someone from Sherbrooke. Yeah, so Luke from Sherbrooke, how you doing? You live in Alberta now. All right, we got Toronto, Victoria. I'm in Toronto. Dave is in Montreal, I guess. And more people are coming. Yeah, on Facebook, unfortunately, you can't see our faces. It's just my camera that's streaming on Facebook, but that's why you got to join these on Zoom. If you can actually see other people. You can chat, and you can also be brought up front to ask questions at the end. We have Steve from Petawawa, Mark from 17 Wing, Winnipeg. Oh, look, people are just showing up. Nice. All right. Who else is here? All right. Yeah, if you're just joining, we're just going through where everyone's joining us from on Zoom. And if you're on Facebook, drop it in the comments as well. Alan from Elmsdale. Bill from Kelowna.
Was that wrong? What was that?
And I'm going to ask folks to stay muted until the Q&A. If you have a question during the webinar, just drop something in the chat. or in Facebook comments once again. All right. So I think we have a good enough. Amanda from Thunder Bay and Richard from Campbellford, Charles from Montreal and Nova Scotia. People just keep on joining. All right. So it's 19:03 and we're going to start. Thank you everyone for joining. And yeah, if you ever have any problems with audio or video, just pipe up. Okay, so the reason why I decided to do this is my second year doing this. I did it last year around the same time after Remembrance Day. Really is something that I call the call for contribution. It's this like innate desire where like I felt like I need to do something and just kind of share some of my knowledge that I acquired over the last decade plus in business and help transitioning veterans. I witnessed too many people struggling in the transition, either joining a civvy job or, just struggling with different business ideas. So I think, if we do this as a group, if we do this together and we have other entrepreneurs, like I brought Dave and Corey and Nicholas this year, and there's a few other great folks in the group, we can help each other and lift each other up. So that's kind of like the why this group was started. And there are other organizations in Canada that are trying to do this, but no one's really trying to do this at scale. I think the Americans are doing it like a lot better than us, and we need to follow suit. I think Dave is going to touch on that a little bit more because he just came back from the US. But a little bit about me. So I'm an immigrant. I came to Canada in 97, 25 years ago. I was just 16 and, I didn't have a lot of friends and, we got a computer. It was the early days with dial-up internet, but actually, because I had a little bit of time on my hands, I was able to teach myself code, HTML, and I made some web pages and blogs and started meeting people online and forums. I actually made money online in 98. That was the first time. So you probably think I'm like this OG internet marketer. Not quite. I actually, very quickly that tactic stopped working, and I left the online entrepreneurship world. Basically, I joined the military in 2000 as a reservist, infantry, and I went to university. I got a finance degree. I worked in finance first, and then I worked in mining. At the same time, I was building my military career. I got to warrant officer. I'm qualified MWO, but I just did put my VR in after 22 years, just recently. I'm still waiting to turn my kit in. 2007 is when I sort of decided to go back into business because, like, I was working a civvy job. I was still serving as a master corporal at the time, and my wife and I were about to have our first child. Toronto is not a cheap city, and we're just like fresh grads. I was making more as a master corporal, I think, than I was making in my civvy job. So we were looking for a side hustle, and I found some forums. This was like before YouTube, before Facebook groups. There was nothing like this, what we're doing here now. And I remember that I used to make websites 10 years before that. So I needed to learn how to send clicks to those websites that I knew how to make. So I learned Google AdWords through reading a few books and just talking to people on the forums, and actually got a first lead. And I remember that moment very clearly. Like I was finishing my, day of work at the civvy job, and I went to the gym, and I had a quick Taco Bell before going to the armory to basically do. It was a Tuesday night. It was an admin night, and I had a BlackBerry Pearl, which I bought specifically for my new little online business. And I got a first lead. It was basically we were generating financial mortgage leads in the UK at the time. And I got a lead, and it was worth 25 British pounds. And at the time, British pound was 2 Canadian dollars. So it was, I just made $50. That's more than what I'm going to make tonight at the armory as the master corporal. And then like that was the epiphany moment for me, where I thought, well, what if I got 2 of these or 3 a day? Like, this could really be a game changer. So of course it wasn't as planned, because it's of course the best year to start a financial lead generation business was 2008, right? So yeah, the things kind of went to shit, and I lost money. I lost $5,000, which was a lot of money for me at the time, but I kind of had some money saved up, and I didn't quit. I started digging into the business more, analyzing the results, and I found some things that sort of could have worked, and basically made $13,000 the next year on the side. Started doing more of it, and the next year after I made like 50 or 60K also, like on the side. And eventually it got to the point where like I was making my annual salary in a month or 2. And 2011 is when I went all in, and I started my incorporated company called HR Marketing. You can see in the corner. Again, this is not about how much money I used to make or any of that. It's not about me. It's really about showing you guys what is possible. Today is called Situation, is really just me going through the market and showing you some examples of what is possible. Okay. Yeah, so been in the digital marketing business for over a decade. I've had some cool opportunities to visit, like the Google office in California, the Facebook office in Toronto, got some awards, made a couple of bucks here and there, lost a few bucks here and there. But anyway, so that means there's a lot of lessons that I can share with the community, and things that you can do and things you shouldn't do. And by no means this is the only kind of like single source of truth. This is just my experience, and this is why I brought people like Corey and Dave, and I'm planning to bring more people in the community that have their own unique set of skills and their own unique experience, and not necessarily just online. So I just happen to be in the digital marketing space. And today, really, I wanted to talk about why I think veterans are uniquely qualified for entrepreneurship, and some of the skills that we all possess without realizing, or given them value. Actually, I think this is where Dave, you wanted to jump in, right?
Sure, that'd be great. I think that would be a great segue into what I'm about to talk about, and appreciate the time you're giving me here. So let's see if we can just share the screen here.
Just made you host.
Okay, sweet. I just accidentally opened up iTunes, so give me a second here. All righty. All right, does everybody see that desktop, Greg? Does that look good? I'll go to share mode, go to slideshow here. All right, let's back this bad boy up here. Whoops. All right. So Greg, thanks so much for inviting me, man. This is really cool. This is kind of a surreal moment, seeing as that I got started just over 3 years ago in business, not knowing what the hell I was doing. basically on a hope and a prayer. Greg, you decided that you'd graciously come on my podcast, which had my mom, my wife, and a handful of other loyal listeners, and it has since turned into a success in the veteran health space, which I'm very thankful for you making that decision and then coming on a second time not too long ago. So folks, I'm not going to take too much of your time, but think of this as kind of like your pump up session and the reason why I think you should be getting into business. I think you're starting to come to that realization. So the title of my presentation today is how we are in the middle of a veteran renaissance, and you're part of it, and find out what you need to do next. And my name's Dave Morrow, for those of you who don't know me, and we'll get into a little bit more detail as to who I am. But first, I want to make sure you have a pre-frame as to what we're going to talk about. So here's the question that I want to ask you all, and I want you to answer this in the comments. What if you could take infinite at bats? So imagine you're playing baseball, okay? I love baseball, so I'm using a baseball reference. So a regular game of baseball, what's the best result you can get? It's a grand slam, right? So you can bring in 4 runs. That's like the pinnacle of what you can do at one at bat. Now, let's imagine hypothetically that you could get up at bat as many times as you want with as many runners on the base as you want. That could potentially pay 10 to 1,000x your initial investment. Would you play that game? Now, you're going to strike out a lot. That's guaranteed because you have infinite at bats. So the question is, would you play? So if that were the game, would you play this game? Yes or no? Drop it in the comments. Let's see how many people out there would play this game of baseball. You don't know how long it's going to be. It could be a month, could be 2 weeks, could be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. But you have infinite at bats. You can go up to bat as many times as you want. Okay. So the reason why I have the paladin mage there tossing up a fiery baseball is because this is like wizardry. This is how I see business. Business is like the infinite at bats. You're going to strike out a lot. However, you have the possibility of not just hitting the home run, not just hitting the grand slam. You have the possibility of smacking infinite amount of grand slams and seeing the wildest dreams that you could possibly imagine come true. So now that we're getting a grip as to what you can do with business, this pump up session is for you if you're a veteran and if you want to crush it with your business idea. Simple as that. So I'm going to briefly explain why I got into business and explain why I think you should get into business. And this is just going to make the universe, your community, everything just a better place. Obviously, I got to rep Corey, who's on the panel today, with a picture that we had 2 weeks ago, and his hat, which I'm going to retire after this week because it's going to be way too sun faded to keep on representing. So I always want to represent the Canadian Armed Forces entrepreneurs that are out there. Plus, he's got awesome gear. So, Corey, you're welcome. Here's what I've been hearing lately. Oh, you went to Afghanistan. You must be a little fucked up. This was literally a conversation I had with some random civvy that found out I was on a mental health retreat. It was great. Veterans are broken. You see that a lot in the media. So many veterans are committing suicide. That's so sad. It is sad. It sucks, but it's the narrative. I never joined the CAF because it's full of aggressive sex offenders. Yep, heard that. You're having some issues adjusting to civvy life. Have you considered killing yourself? Don't know. Might have heard that somewhere. Don't know. Veterans must be right-wing conspiracy theorists, and you're a veteran, but you're so young. Okay, the reason why I bring up all these things is that there's a narrative that surrounds us these days. It's wrong, totally wrong. And I'm going to explain to you why. Just here, I have a few pictures of myself with my business partner, Mike, and our first day signing contract for our new gaming app that we're putting out, which is going to launch soon. I also have a picture of me doing the Ironman because I don't think I would have done the Ironman had I not started a business, and also completing a Spartan Beast with 2 of my veteran bros down there in the bottom right, having been injured and told basically like, hey, it's time to throw in the towel, man. You're a bit banged up. Just, ride out the last 40 years of your life. So had I not started a business, I wouldn't have gotten the confidence to go out and do these things, in my opinion. And I want to convey that as much as possible to you. And I like using Jocko to kind of cement that because he's the man and he's going to be a future podcast guest on the Hard to Kill podcast. that's not a fact, but I mean, I'm confident that's going to happen because I'm fired up. And what does he say? Get up and go, take the risk, take the gamble, take the first step, take action, and don't let another day slip by. I don't have a good Jocko accent, so I won't even try. So who am I? I'm a fitness coach, member of the Canadian, or former member of the Canadian Armed Forces, spent 15 years in the reserves in Montreal with the Guards, and I'm a family man. Now, I have a bunch of images here on the right, and the reason why I put them there is more for myself, right? I don't get to do these type of presentations very often. So when I do, I'm very hard on myself, and you may be very hard on yourself as well because you're a member of the forces. That is natural. We're humble. We don't like going out there and talking about what we've accomplished. So I'm going to do that right now. So I have the Hard to Kill podcast. It has been voted the best veteran Army podcast in the world. So I'm happy about that. And that's because of listeners like you. Maybe you're one, but definitely Greg and Corey have been on, and I'm appreciative of that. The Athena program, the first fully subsidized training program, personal training program for retired women of the CAF in Canadian history. So we got awarded the Veteran Wellbeing Fund last year for this program, and we're super, super excited to be providing that service. Additionally, I'm an author, which is pretty wild. And I completed the Ironman, like I said earlier, and I was awarded the Fitness and Nutrition Awards Most Motivational Personal Fitness Instructor in Canada Award in 2021. Okay, the reason why I bring this all up is that had I not made the decision while I was sitting in my basement after I got fired and I was a miserable sack of shit, this wouldn't have been possible, and I wouldn't have been able to help the hundreds and hundreds of veterans that I'm helping now. Okay, so I hope I'm making it clear that business is the way to go, guys. My story is pretty common. I grew up in the suburbs here in Montreal, became a reservist at 19, deployed in 2010, came back. I was injured, back, knee, psychologically, it wasn't doing great. So I decided to hop into being a high school teacher. That didn't work out. I did that for on and off for about 10 years. And my last stretch was 6 years of high school teaching, and it just wasn't for me. And I realized that I needed to do something different. Not only that, my PTSD issues were forcing me to get better in weird ways, causing anxiety, making me realize that I'm not good. So I had to get help. And that was probably one of the best things I ever did. In that time frame, I also got married and started a family. And through that process, I realized things were getting worse. My back was getting worse. My knee was getting worse. My psychological issues were getting worse, but I wasn't good to go. So I had to dissolve my ego and say, I need help. And I said to myself, while I'm stuck in bed, just unable to move, my back is a disaster. I have a son. I can't take care of him. I can't be the husband I want to be. I can't go provide because I'm taking sick days left, right, and center. I can't live the rest of my life like this. And that's literally where I made the decision. And the first decision was to take care of myself physically. Once I got myself sorted physically, that's when I decided to hop into business because I got the confidence. I was like, hey, I can do this with my back and my knee, and I feel great. Maybe I can conquer the business world. So here's where I think we're in the middle of a veteran renaissance. And just by virtue of you being here, you're a part of it. We have nearly 21 million veterans in Canada and the US. And the reason why I bring up the US is because they have a massive chunk of that. They have 98% of all of these veterans. Canada only roughly has 600,000. So this is going to be important as we start discussing business down the road. 33% of veterans are underemployed. This was me. I was in a teaching role, and I shit you not, I was given on the first year the duty for the big event at the school to ensure that we had coffee and enough coffee cups for all the attendees. And I was followed up with, and there was emails. And as you probably could guess, that's an unqualified troops job. And I realized, oh crap, I'm really underemployed in this job, because not only there was that, but also just being a teacher, having done what I've done in the military, it just wasn't a good fit. And this happens to a third of us when we leave. But the silver lining is that forces a lot of us to start businesses, because we realize we have a skill set that is better than most civvies that are starting from scratch. 1 in 10 businesses in the US is veteran owned, which translates into about 2.5 million businesses total. And US veterans are 45% more likely to start their own businesses. Now you're probably saying, Dave, where are the Canadian stats? Well, there are none. So American stats are really important here. There are new Canadian stats that are in the process of being sought out and created through studies, but we're not quite there yet as a country. So how I got started, it was pretty messy, as you can see here on the right. So after tour, I thought I could conquer everything. So I started in corporation. I didn't know what I was doing. I failed miserably. So my first business was a complete and utter failure. I was going house to house, trying to personal train, didn't have any sort of structure, didn't have any front end, back end. I was just kind of asking around if anybody wanted training. Slowly but surely, I just ran out of clients. I ran out of steam, and that business just collapsed in on itself. Then I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to try and maybe get some education. So I found Princess Operation Entrepreneur, which was a week business training, which was great. I got my feet wet, so to speak. Then I said, you know what? This isn't for me. I'm going to back off and go into the sure thing, which is teaching, and make $45,000 a year. Good job, Dave. Then that's when I started my family. And that's when the kind of, I mentioned earlier, the collapse started to happen. Everything started to hurt. Everything just started falling apart. And that eventually led to me being fired from a tech job that I took once I left my teaching position. So I'm sitting at home. I have no job. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. My PTSD is not doing me any favors. And I have a kid and a second one on the way. Things are going really well. So I decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to start a business right now. And in order to do that, I'm going to fly out to Spain for 4 days and do a business conference. So as you can imagine, it was a hard sell for the wife. But I went, and it was probably one of the best things I ever did, because it was kind of like a burn the boats moment. I wrote a whole bunch of new stuff. I got incredibly creative. And I had one individual tell me when he was there that, you know what, Dave, you're selfish. And that broke me in a good way, because I didn't realize that me not going out and sharing the knowledge that I had about how I fix myself, how I've come up with a protocol to make myself physically better, is depriving others of that knowledge. And so from there on, I said, you know what, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to try and do everything I can to convey what I know. That's when I wrote a book, The Nimble Warrior. That's when I started my podcast, the Hard to Kill podcast, DMPT, which is Dave Morrow Personal Training. And then most recently, Voluntold, which is the video game app that we're creating. So once the ball got rolling, I knew this was the way. And the only thing I regret in my life is that I wish I had started 10 years earlier. My favorite. Can't wait for the next season. My son's favorite too. Okay, so we're about to wrap up. I want to ask you these questions. And you can drop the ones that you think you have. Now, remember I said like it's hard for us to not be humble, to talk about ourselves. Well, which of these character traits do you think you have? And these are by no means like exhaustive lists, but these are the ones that I feel are really important. Creativity being one. You're the one-man show to start. Like you're creating stuff. Do you have an idea? Well, cool, that's creative. Next, courage. Do you have the courage to actually do it? Resourcefulness, relentlessness, resiliency, and honesty. If you have these, all of these, one of these, at least have some of them, right? These are things that are critically important in order to get yourself in the game. Guess what? By virtue of being in the forces, you probably have all of these. Okay, so that's like big check mark number one. Okay, and what skills are needed? And again, you can drop these in here. Which ones do you think you have? Or even better, which ones do you think you need help with? Networking, bookkeeping. This is a weakness for me. I know that for a fact. Marketing. Social media. I learned the hard way. I went on and did social media, freaking Facebook Lives, even though it hurt me to my core. It made my soul hurt because I never was on social media. I did them anyways. Management, okay, and leadership. Now, a lot of these here, like you already have. Okay, so how do you apply it to business? You're the commanding officer with no structure around you. That's the best way I can describe it. There's nobody telling you what to do. But that's the problem. There's nobody telling you what to do. So can you create structure around what you want to do and repeat and do it until you're successful? So do you have those qualities? Time will tell. I want to just sum up here with a really good quote that I like from Jim Rohn, who was Tony Robbins' mentor. He says, formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. And I wholeheartedly agree with this. You will never learn the skills required to make you a billionaire by going to school. You'll get the foundation, but the real skills will come from being in the arena and working on your entrepreneurship skills. And so to tie things all together here, this is what the veteran entrepreneur, the veteran renaissance looks like to me. This is 3 weeks ago at the Military Influencer Conference in Las Vegas. I never had an experience so positive, and I'm still buzzing from it, because we got to connect with veterans from across the United States. Me and my buddy Mike here and my business partner are in the center. We were the only 2 Canadians there. And the only reason why I found out about this was because of Greg, because I saw a picture of him at this conference years ago. And I inquired, what is that? He said, oh, it's a Military Influencer Conference. And so that just piqued my interest. And this is where you make the connections. This is where you realize in the United States right now, they are fixing things, and they are going to do it through enterprise. They are going to take the lead, and they are going to be the next greatest generation. That is the theme that they are running with. And that's the theme that I truly believe that we can all be a part of, so long as we take the gamble, so long as we jump into entrepreneurship and we take that risk and we get in the game and we serve for a second time, which is going to be for our communities and our countries. So guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. You can reach me here in the Facebook group later. Ask me any questions. I'm going to stick around for the Q&A. I'm just going to go kiss my kids goodnight, and I'll be right back. And good luck. The next 5 days are going to be wicked. I wish I had them when I started. Thanks, Greg.
That's a mic drop moment, I think. Let's see. Am I the host now?
Looks like it, Greg. Yeah, you look like you're good to go.
Okay. Oh, there's more people joining. Wow, look at that. All right, yeah. So Dave, like, I mean, you took a lot of words right out of my mouth, and you actually, you know, I couldn't have done a better job myself. Thank you, and thank you for giving me credit with, you know, your podcast. And small correction, that conference, I did tell you about the Military Influencer Conference, but only because I couldn't go. I wanted to speak at it, and I guess I didn't have enough influence in the US to get picked. But I did go to another conference in 2018. If some of you joined through the website, Enlisted2Entrepreneur.com, I kind of hint at that story, which kind of prompted me to start this whole thing. But it was 2018. It was Mark Cuban, who is one of the sharks on the Shark Tank in the US. He had a conference for veterans. He loves veterans, and he had a conference called Clever Talks. I don't know if they're doing it again, but it was basically San Diego. It was a lot of SEALs, a lot of recon Marines. It was like Jocko there, Rudy Reyes, Black Rifle Coffee, Evan Schaffer, and like the who's who. And I was the only Canadian, and they treated me like their brother. And that blew my mind, and I just felt so obliged to do something about this and bring some of that back home. Just like Dave said, like the Americans are trying to fix things, and we got to do the same. So anyways, for those of you who just joined, we're just finished Dave's bit about the veteran renaissance, and I'm going to piggyback on that by just, you know, driving the point across that veterans are uniquely qualified for entrepreneurship through some of the skills that were acquired in the service, and we don't even realize it, right? And some of the statistics. So this is Matthew Lewis. I actually just had a Zoom call with him and the Ambitious Vet podcast host, Chris Hoffman from the US, ex-Marine. So Matthew has a book about transitioning. Some of the stats that he brought up, I just decided to kind of steal to my presentation. But, you know, like Dave was saying, like there's a lot of narrative saying how all the veterans are fucked up. Well, Matthew argues that no, there's a lot more civilians who actually have PTSD in the workplace than veterans, if you look at the stats. In business and workplace, veterans have a lot of entrepreneurial leadership type traits. They are very trustworthy. They are able to learn complex tasks very quickly. They're comfortable with being uncomfortable. They have resiliency. They have team building skills, and all of those things. As far as education, again, these are American stats because, like Dave said, there aren't any for Canada, but veterans are actually very educated compared to some of their civilian peers, at least in the States. And, again, typically when civilians think of a veteran, they think of like a door kicker type, basically combat arms person. Again, American statistics, but there's way more veterans with non-combat specialty in the workplace. And they have a lot of these skills like, cybersecurity, administration, electronics, HR, operators of machinery and whatnot. So these are all significantly valuable. And, some of the studies and questionnaires about what are the skills that are the most important in the workplace, they're all, quote unquote, soft skills: professionalism, work ethic, teamwork, communication, problem solving, ethics. And this is all what we already possess. So if you agree, like, drop some comments in the Facebook or here on Zoom. Entrepreneur has a lot of definitions. The one that I particularly like and agree with is that an entrepreneur is somebody who sees other people's problems and makes them their own to solve. And like, isn't that what we did in the military? Like, we actually went out there and solved other people's problems. Like, that's what the military does. Entrepreneurs are creators. Like, they create things that are of service to other people, either physical things or, actual services. And isn't that what we did in the military? Isn't service part of our ethos now? So I think those two reasons are, root causes why military veterans can be great entrepreneurs. So once again, some of the skills that we take for granted are, our military values: duty, loyalty, integrity, courage, principles of leadership, self-improvement, timeliness, teamwork, and then personal traits: discipline, physical fitness, resourcefulness, being able to do more with less, and personal sacrifice. Like, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you do tend to sacrifice a lot in terms of like time and, time with family. And we do this in the service all the time, either as, reservist or regular force. We volunteered, but our families got drafted, and business is going to be just like that. All right. If you can think of other skills that we possess that aren't mentioned here, drop them in the comments right now. Another thing, military teaches people how to grow and scale. And that's very important skill in business, is how do you take something from 0 to 1 and then from 1 to 10? Like, where else do you start as a single contributor and then a few months later you are like in charge of a section running, mission critical operations? Not very many places in the civilian world where you get to do that. We are really far ahead of a lot of our competition, because like, I'm in a lot of personal development and business coaching kind of spaces. And you won't believe some of the stuff that goes on there. Like, these coaches and gurus telling people that you have to wake up early and drink water. Like, that's like a real thing. Or like, you have to, when you wake up, you don't look at your phone and you just start working. Like, to really have to persuade people that to get to the next level in business, you have to do those things. I would hazard a guess a lot of people in the military, they kind of already are doing this. That's what we are conditioned to. That's what we are accustomed to. And a lot of these business courses are really heavy on mindset. And I mean, there's some, mindset things that are important, but a lot of them are just getting people to move, to stop procrastinating and actually doubting themselves and actually doing something. And I think a lot of military veterans have already gone past that step. Like, we've done difficult things in the past. We know how to move forward even when we're, afraid. This is the definition of courage. So Michael says, my entrepreneurial experience is that if you ever run a section or platoon, you're 75% of the way there. You just need to get the hang of the civilian framework you have to operate in. You know, I would agree 100%. Okay, so I'm going to stop here for a moment and actually say that there's a few things that you learn in military that can hurt you, right? So I had learned the hard way, and some of them have to do with you know, the way we are taught to operate, the way we treat our teams, and you know, sometimes you pick up a lot of bad habits. And you know, one thing I realized that like employees are not troops. That was a, a realization. But some of three things that I wanted to really point out. So one is the ego. Like we have accomplished some hard things, we have done some stuff, and that sometimes hurts us in a way where our ego starts to tell us, well, you know, I was so and so in the military, therefore I deserve this. Well, unfortunately, in the civilian world, oftentimes nobody owes you shit. Like that's the hard truth. And like whoever you were in the military, it doesn't really matter to a lot of your civilian counterparts or even ex-military. I mean, like I'm going to respect everybody, whatever they've done, but that's not always going to be the case. But you know, another way the ego can hurt us is like, I can do it all myself. You know, like Dave mentioned, like he wished he would have asked for help earlier on. And a lot of us, because we're like, I know, I don't need anybody's help. Like I can do it all. I can figure it out. And that either sets you back years and years and years, or means that you're basically never going to start. You're going to keep making mistakes. The zero quit mentality. So like, that's another one, like, it's a dichotomy. Like definitely you don't want to be a quitter, but also you don't want to be the person who like so stubborn that you basically run yourself into the ground with this like zero quit mentality. To basically, I'm going to mute Wes, sorry. I'm going to use Jocko's analogy that he actually brought up at that 2018 conference when somebody asked him, like, you know, don't you say never quit? He says, yes, but imagine you're doing a section attack uphill on a fortified machine gun position, and then they open fire, 2 guys go down, then you just keep going, and 2 more guys go down, you know, and in 5 minutes, you're all dead. Zero quit would mean that you would actually stop, regroup, and think of another way to accomplish the mission. Because if you just keep going, yes, you never quit, but you never accomplish the mission. So I think that's small caveat where like sometimes we work too hard and we basically break ourselves. We don't want to do that. And another thing that I think comes from being institutionalized in the military is like a lot of times we think like, oh, I'm not qualified for that. Like I need to get a course, or I need to get a piece of paper that says I'm qualified on this weapon, on this equipment. Obviously, you know, there's safety and legal factors that come into play, but in general, oftentimes in business, you don't have to wait until you're qualified. Like the work qualifies you, your results qualify you. So that's just like some things that I wanted to stop and talk about before I, you know, inflate everybody's head too much that we have all these wonderful skills. Yeah, we have a lot of wonderful skills, but we also have some baggage that we need to be cognizant of. And if you're not convinced that, you know, military service can help in entrepreneurship, there's some data fresh from Israel. Israel has the most number of startups in the world, and they have 4 times the success rate of the American startups. Number one reason why they think it is the case is because they have mandatory military training in the country. Like this is an article in Forbes that talks about it. And again, if you're still not convinced, there's a lot of many Canadian entrepreneurs who are military veterans, and some of them you probably know, but because we're not the same as United States, a lot of this is not known. So here's Bryce. He I actually met him once, and we had some conversations on the phone. He is a co-founder of Wind Mobile. As you know, Canada only has so many mobile operators. There's like 5. So he's a co-founder of one of them. So he's an ex-naval officer. Here you go. Like you can probably picture, what that is worth. And that just, I wanted to give you like the top of the line example. You might think, well, you know what, like, you know, not everybody is a naval officer with, you know, higher education and all that. That's fair. Again, your business doesn't have to be the next Uber, the next, you know, mobile operator or a billion-dollar unicorn. So everybody I'm going to talk about right now, like I either met in person or online. So this is Mike George. He's a ex special forces operator, and he decided that he wants to start selling gourmet olive oil in Ottawa, and he basically has got a feature in the, you know, Veterans Affairs, how he founded his company, and he's doing well. I've visited him last Christmas at his store. Best olive oil in Canada, says Mike in the comments. Rightly so. I definitely tried some of that stuff. Okay. Corey Shelson, he's a member at Treble Victor, and he opened a digital marketing agency, kind of like, you know, similar to what I do. He got on the 2020 list of fastest growing companies in Canada. He's got a pretty big team out of London, Ontario, and Barrie. Arrowhead Coffee, you know, here I am drinking out of their mug. So another Canadian Special Operations Regiment veteran. This actually was founded by a CSORP guy, and he was still in the service. While he was in the unit, he couldn't really do both for a long time, so he sold it to the person who owns it now, Len. And Len already had a business before with the dog food, so now he has two. So Arrowhead Coffee is kind of like our own version of Black Rifle Coffee, and, you know, doing really well out of St. Catharines. Aussie Peelback, here's another special forces owner. Basically, I met him at a tactical trade show in Ottawa, and they have this like custom IFAC that, if you notice, it goes under the plate. You know, pretty cool idea. So they're selling in Canada, US, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and you know, just something that they got out of a problem that they had themselves in the service. So they're basically catering now to other special operators. Here's another example. This is a motorcycle apparel company. So this is Rishi. He's supposed to be one of the instructors here. Later in the week, I met him a year ago. He started his business during COVID. He was a vehicle tech in some unit in Alberta, I forget, but essentially, while they were stuck at home, he decided that he didn't want to watch too much Netflix. He started watching different YouTube videos and stuff, and he launched his apparel. Then I met him, and you know, we did a little bit of coaching. They were doing mid 5 figures a month in sales about a year ago. Hopefully he can give us an update. He had a passion for writing, and he had some contacts overseas and making this stuff, and he just taught himself not even 2 years ago how to do this. Here's another special forces veteran, Randy. He was also Canada's MMA champion, I think 2012 or 2013. And he owns a kind of mix between tactical training to police forces and private security and the military, and also strength and conditioning and combatives. He is a really great guy. I may try to get him to come on this week. Here's a guy I served with, Taylor. He was working a basically, I think he had a contract doing AR kind of, you know, the simulator simulated small arms training for the Air Force as an infantry guy, and then he saw a business opportunity. He quit the army and opened his own company, Chimera XR, basically an AR augmented reality training. So they now have contracts with all kinds of police forces, and you know, doing really well. Award-winning company, guy I served with. Jeff Weibo, he's out in London, Ontario. He's like, I believe, the #2 realtor in London. but he's also got a huge YouTube channel and obviously a lot of social media following. He used social media and video to really elevate himself as a realtor. So he uses that online stuff to drive his real estate business, and doing really, really well. Only started 5 or 6 years ago. Some examples from outside of Canada. So this is LAPD undercover officer that was basically fighting gangs in Compton in South LA with getting hit squads. Now that's Facebook marketing. Dan, he's an Australian police detective. I met him at a conference, and he at the time has just signed a deal with Disney. They were doing some branded apparel, so he had an apparel business, and as you can see, in first year of operation, it did $4 million. He credits his detective and policing skills as to his success. Here's Parker McCumber. He is a serving field artillery NCO, I believe, maybe an officer. He this plaque here basically makes he made $10 million or more. They sell flagpoles, so he made 8 figures selling flagpoles. Obviously, America and flags. If you ever visit the States, you see how many flags are flying. So definitely. But anyways, yeah, he sells flagpoles to the tune of tens of millions of dollars, and still serves in the field artillery regiment. By the way, I believe he just posted on Facebook. He just got an award in the U.S. Army magazine for some sort of a technical innovation that will help their artillery. And of course, we have some people here on this call. Corey with the Mad Hatter Apparel Company. We just had Dave, who won the Best Army Podcast in the World award just this year. And the reason why I'm bringing all these people up is because I was able to meet them through the virtue of just also, being in the military. Like that's a very effective icebreaker. I don't know if you watched the pre-training by Nicholas about Corporal for Life, but he was able to cold call the CEO of Grunt Style in the US and just simply saying that, hey, I'm a Canadian veteran. He got on a call, basically a free coaching call from a CEO of a highly successful, I would hazard a guess, 8-figure company, just because he mentioned that he's a veteran. So that's a very important thing that we possess as well, is that networking tool that is highly underutilized. So how are you guys liking these so far? Like, do you love these stories? Any of them kind of ring a bell or give you any ideas? If yes, drop it in the comments, like which story you liked the most, or which business kind of blew your mind. Meanwhile, I'm gonna grab a sip of water. Yeah, Grunt Style is 9 figures. There you go. So $100 million company, CEO calls Nicholas in Windsor, Canada, and coaches him for free. Where else can you get an opportunity like that? Same thing, like I was on the call with Bryce in the beginning, also 9-figure company co-founder, for half an hour, just like, telling me about what I should do. Where else can you get it? Not very many places. So that's another very important benefit of your military background, where you can just do that. All right, let's move on. Yeah, to sum this up, what Dave said and what I said, veterans have so many qualities to excel in business, and you have it in you too. Like, even if you think you don't, you do. Let's switch gears, and I'm going to talk about why digital marketing and online commerce are the biggest business and job opportunity of the century, in my opinion. Mind you, there is nothing wrong with brick and mortar businesses, especially that 2020 is behind us. I think a year or two ago, you could have thought different. The internet is like gasoline on the fire, even for a brick and mortar business. So like, think about how many lawn care companies or construction companies that you can book online. They turn up on time. You pay them with a credit card right on their website. They have a scheduling tool. Everything is streamlined. Not very many. So, you can use this in a brick and mortar business 100%. I think Neil is on the call. He runs a refinishing company out of Alberta. Most of their business or half of their business comes from Facebook. And there you go. Neil, if you're on the call, drop a comment in the chat or in the Facebook comment. I think, yeah, there you go. Yes, I'm here. Am I right? Isn't online a big part of your strategy? Another reason I keep hearing is people think they need a lot of money to start a business. In some cases, it is true, but in the online business model, especially, you don't need a lot of startup costs. So that's another benefit, in my opinion, why a fully digital business is a great opportunity. All right. See some business deals occurring in the chat already. Awesome. You guys are great. Okay, so just some numbers. Again, this is not to brag or boast or anything, just to show you what is possible. So 2017, when e-com started booming, we launched some Shopify stores, and there was a lot of trial in there, a lot of mistakes, but basically we did $2 million US in under 2 years with a couple of products. So it was pretty good story. Obviously, then COVID happened, everything blew up, and in 2020 we had like some crazy months. So that kind of accelerated everything. Again, going back to Mike's Aurelius Food, they were forced to close their physical store in Ottawa, and they were 85% customer facing before. They thought they were done. Guess what? They went fully online during the pandemic, and it really blew their business up. Now they're back to the hybrid. Okay. A comment: I'm stuck in the trap that unless my marketing and advertising is perfect, I shouldn't try to really push the envelope. So definitely, we're going to address that in later in the week, some of the objections and stuff. But yeah, you don't have to be perfect. Like we're gonna give you some actionable tools to deal with that, but nothing is really perfect, especially when you're starting out. You just have to start and iterate and let your market tell you. And Corey is saying, yeah, that will be done in day 3 execution. Okay, moving on. So some statistics from Google. About half of the offline businesses were forced to embrace digital through the pandemic. And once you get the taste, it's hard to let go, both on the business side and on the consumer side. There's, people love to go and shop online and try clothes on and, taste oil and stuff. But still, the convenience factor is not going to go away. So, half of the businesses are saying they will stick with e-commerce after the pandemic ends. These are like hardcore brick and mortar businesses that were like zero online before. After the COVID pandemic, half of them are saying we're going to stick with e-com. All right. So not everyone's on board yet, so the opportunity is still there. So this is last year's stats, but basically, you can see that the adoption is still lagging. What that means for you is there is still opportunity. You're not late to the game. Great discussion in the comments. Imperfect action is better than procrastination. There you go. Okay, so what's holding most people back? Really is just like they're not sure how to get traffic, and traffic is internet slang for visitors. And getting those visitors to convert into sales or leads or basically turn them into cash. While this is good for you, if you learn how to get traffic and if you learn how to get it to convert, you will never go hungry, right? Still, 40% of businesses are having a hard time attracting customers, even post-pandemic. So that's an opportunity for you to improve if you are the business that is having trouble attracting customers, or for you to acquire those skills and help those businesses out. So other common roadblocks is not knowing where to start, or you started, tried once, it doesn't work, this is all a scam. I was actually surprised. I only had 2 people call me a scammer throughout the whole campaign. We were going for 5 weeks. I had 2 comments really that called me out as a scam or a pyramid scheme. So I was actually pleasantly surprised. And another one objection is, they hired an agency or a freelancer. They kind of screwed them and they got burned. So like, it doesn't work. Everyone's out to get me. So we are going to clear these objections this week. If you like my mission, task, verb thing there. We're going to address all that later in the week. Don't worry about it. Again, a lot of folks ask, well, does online work for my business? What if I'm in real estate? What if I'm in construction? What if? You know what? Yes, it does. Do you think people will be doing more or less Google searches online? Do you think they will be doing more or less YouTube and TikTok? Are they going to be visiting more websites or less? Especially the younger generation. So these are like fairly old stats, but like you can see there's billions of people over the world on Facebook, on Google, YouTube, Gmail. Like people are always like on the phone, on the computer. They're double screening while they're watching Netflix. Like it's insane. Anybody here heard the hashtag TikTok made me buy it? If yes, drop it in the comments. If you have kids, I bet you some of them came up to you and made you buy shit based on this. Consumers are increasingly comfortable buying products from social media. TikTok has got the highest growth among online shoppers. And here's the crazy part about TikTok. I remember Aussie Peelback that I showed you guys earlier, the tactical IFAC that goes under your plate, and the guy from Seesaw running it. I asked him at the show, what's your biggest growth channel? And he said, TikTok. I'm like, what? And he said, yeah. And I'm like, isn't this all like little kids dancing and like pointing fingers and stuff? He's like, no, man, like they're already old enough. There's like 19 to 24-year-old Marines that are buying that stuff. And not only that, they go and show their boss, who then puts a big order. I'm like, whoa. Because I was sort of in this tactical space. A couple of my brands catered to, firearms maintenance and marksmanship. I'm like, totally ignore TikTok. And after that conversation, I'm like, man, like I better catch up. So it's insane. My son, 11-year-old, told me to make sure this wasn't a pyramid scheme. Yeah, it's not a pyramid scheme, guys. Don't worry. All right. So yeah, that's online commerce for you. I'm just gonna go back one. Yeah, so here's some stats. Again, this is very, very fresh stats from just this summer. Consumer willingness to buy online, depending on platform, like YouTube has always been pretty steady, but like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, they're all trending up. So the opportunity is going to increase. Like it's already huge and it's only going to grow. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. This is why I'm here. So once again, do you think any of these businesses will need less leads or more leads? Real estate, construction businesses, insurance brokers, doctors, gyms. They all need leads. They all need new customers. So pretty much any business has to embrace online, and yours too. Like, even if you think you're going to be like completely offline, trust me, like in a year or two, something will happen in the marketplace. You will become an online business. Guaranteed. Another reason why I personally like online businesses is because it's not restricted to one location. I mean, I love local businesses and Aurelius Oils is great in their neighborhood in Ottawa, but you know what? Most of my campaigns, most of my businesses, they were not done in Canada. So like I had clients in the US, in Europe, in South America. We were selling our products to people all over the world, really. And you can do that from your bedroom. Like where else can you do that? It's crazy. So if you want, you can be truly global. If you don't want to be truly global, you just want to, stay and serve your community, that's also cool. So to summarize, I think digital marketing and online commerce are here to stay, and they're some of the best and biggest opportunities. Even if you think you aren't in digital or you aren't going to be, you will be. It's just a matter of time or policy. Like all of those businesses during COVID who thought they were brick and mortar, they were told by the government, now you're either closed or you're online. And that's the choice you got to make. The good thing is that you can acquire and use these skills to grow either your business or help other people grow theirs. And there's a lot of demand, especially now in the recession, people want help. And the good thing is it's a lot easier to get started now than 5, 10, or 15 years ago when I started. Like I had no YouTube, I had no Facebook, I had no TikTok, I had nothing. I had a book I could go and read about Google AdWords. That's how I learned. And there was a forum. Most people now don't even know what a forum is. Yeah. The caveat to that is that the barriers to entry are low. So there's going to be a lot of, whiz kids or whatnot that are going to be jumping in. But we have the skills to beat them through our military background. And, COA 2, course of action, even if for some reason you don't launch your online business, if you learn online marketing, e-commerce, you will acquire a set of skills that will be in super high demand going forward based on those trends I just showed you. All right. That concludes the overview of the situation in the market. If you guys are liking this, or if you have any questions, just drop them in the comments right now or in the chat. So just Canuck, sorry, don't know your name, says, this is just the beginning. Online is here to stay. Learning full stack development has only opened my eyes and I'm building every day. Yeah, like remember, I'm talking about this from my point of view. So I'm not talking about like development or other things. Some people trying to join the group. Look at that. All right, boom. All right. Okay, yeah. So now what I want to do is very quickly cover some of the business models that I know, and then we're going to open it up to Q&A. Luke Couture, liking it thus far. Thank you, Luke. Okay, so there are many different online business models, and also, like I said, there's offline businesses that leverage online as a way to grow their business. So the three things that I've done personally is affiliate marketing, marketing agency, and e-commerce, right? So what are those? Affiliate marketing is when you basically sell other people's services or products and you get a commission. You could be doing it directly with the business, or there's intermediaries, agencies called affiliate networks, which have a relationship with other businesses that need leads, that need sales, they need downloads, they need installs, and they connect those businesses with marketers, like affiliate, like myself. So it's very low barrier to entry. You don't have to worry about fulfillment part of the business. You just have to pre-sell and drive traffic. You have to send people to somebody else's business to make a transaction with that business. It is highly competitive, and it's kind of hard to turn it into a sellable asset or a brand or something, but it's a good cash cow business, let's say, and it's kind of easy to get your feet wet in how to do marketing if that's your thing. All you need is learn the skill, invest the time, and if you are using the paid advertising, you need some budget to run ads, but you can also do it without paid ads. Another one business model is a marketing agency or some sort of a service provider. It doesn't have to be a marketing agency. Usually you help others with your skills, either retainer-based or performance-based, which means you also get paid commission. So this could be a variety of things. Could be straight up marketing services, like you learn Google Ads and then you run Google Ads for people. You learn how to run email campaigns, write really, really good emails, and you do that for people. You do copywriting, which means like you write sales letters. You can be a video or graphics person. Like right now, there's a huge demand for video if you're good with camera. Like I know so many people who started a business just like filming products for e-commerce sellers and just selling them the video clips. Web design, make websites, sales funnels, get into Google Analytics, tracking or development, or even could be like an accounting service. Like there's somebody just joined the group yesterday. They have an accounting bookkeeping business, that's a huge demand. Like every business needs to file taxes, therefore they need an accountant or a bookkeeper, right? So that could be a type of service that you provide. So really there's no limit to the type of services where you can provide as an agency. Again, relatively low barrier to entry, but potentially it's a more brandable, more sellable asset. You're actually building more of a business where you have like a book of clients and you have some maybe IP and SOPs and whatnot. Still, depending on what it is, it's relatively high competition, and you scale with people. So the way you grow your business is by usually hiring more people, which sometimes can be difficult. So the requirements are, again, skills, time, and being good with people, building teams. And just look at some questions and comments. Boom. Okay, people are discussing SEO. I'm gonna touch on that during Q&A. Okay, e-commerce. So e-commerce is you typically sell a physical or a digital product direct to consumer through either your own website or on the marketplace like Amazon or Walmart, or you could be, selling digital products like downloadable courses or whatever. And within that, there's drop shipping where you sell other people's products. You don't manufacture them. You don't really fulfill them. You just it's almost being an affiliate to a physical product. Then there's white labeling where you take a product that you slap your brand on and then you sell it. So there's that. For example, supplements are very popular, or sometimes it's, print on demand apparel is kind of a white label, if you will, like somebody else prints the t-shirt, you just come up with a design and your own brand. And then the most complicated one is where you develop and sell your own products from scratch. Like you own the whole thing from conception to manufacturing to fulfillment, customer service, marketing, everything, right? And remember, digital products can also be sold online through e-commerce. So like I know people are selling like Photoshop filters packs for thousands and thousands of dollars to graphic designers. Like it's a downloadable thing. People sell it on Etsy, right? So again, fairly low barrier to entry. Potentially, you are building actually a sellable brand. Like there's been a lot of M&A activity recently. People buying like institutional capital, buying Amazon businesses, buying Shopify businesses, left, right, and center. I think it dried up with the recession. But if you have a really valuable brand, it's like probably the best way to build something that you can exit or sell later on. There's more moving parts in e-commerce. Now you have to think about design, sourcing, fulfillment, customer service, refunds, returns, and also you tend to scale with people. So you need to start hiring a team eventually. So, there's a little bit more skills involved, but also it's a very rewarding when you actually, somebody buys your physical thing that you send to them and they give you money. It's a very cool feeling. I'm sure Corey can attest. Some other online business models, so like Amazon FBA, it's you basically use Amazon Marketplace to sell products. So if you look in the group, in the Facebook group, scroll back a little bit. A couple of months ago, I did a podcast with Norm. He's a 7RCA vet from Toronto. He's a very, very successful and very knowledgeable Amazon consultant. So definitely a shout out to him and his business. Some other ways, like Dave is selling coaching and courses for fitness online very successfully. Randy, he sells courses and coaching in person. He actually goes out and teaches people, but he uses video. He's got like a YouTube channel. He's got an Instagram account, getting the demand up through social media and the video. And here's another one. You can be, a content creator or an influencer, like Jocko or Goggins. Like, he's got a podcast. He wrote a bunch of books, but he's built such a loyal following and such a strong personal brand. He can sell whatever the hell he wants now. Like he's selling books, he's selling supplements, he's selling energy drinks, he's selling combat boots. He's got hunting clothes. Like a whole variety of things. He just slaps his name on it because he's so famous and he's built such a huge audience and a following. That's a very long game, but it's very, very lucrative. And as you can see, the Military Influencer Conference here, there was quite a lot of attendees, and I'm sure Dave can share his experience later if anybody is interested. Some more comments. Boom, boom. Awesome to see. This is what it's all about. Thank you, Bill. Corey is sharing some, dropping some value bombs about the print on demand apparel business. There you go. Awesome. Yeah. So if you guys like this so far, drop some love in the comments, hit it up on Facebook. Anyways, the point of this is there's many different online business models and they kind of overlap, like, just like in the militaries, there's never like one single thing you do. You always kind of do different jobs that they overlap. So you can pick a model that makes the most sense to you or test a few things until you find what works. But essentially, there's going to be a homework after this webinar where you can start thinking about some of your skills and passions and experiences that can kind of help you get an idea. If you don't have one, you may have already have developed an idea. That's fine. But it's going to be a great exercise for you to go through to kind of understand yourself a little better. So what we've covered today is, the veteran renaissance, thanks to Dave's presentation, why veterans are uniquely qualified to be an entrepreneur through the skills we already possess without realizing. You got it. Why digital marketing and e-commerce are the new oil. It's the biggest business and job opportunity of the century, in my opinion. And, some of the supporting statistics hopefully help you realize that. And all of the stories of all the real people that I have met personally who are making it happen, who are veterans just like ourselves. They're not like trust fund babies. They're not like, brainiacs. They're just regular folks who are making it happen. I hope it gives you confidence that, this is what is possible. This is what is available. And I've shared some of the business models through what I have done. This is by no means the only thing that is out there. This is really just a glimpse of what is possible there. So that's it for the formal part. There's an opportunity for Q&A right now, and then the homework will be posted immediately after the live session. I got a couple of slides in the end with the homework as well. But yeah, now this is really the opportunity for whoever wants to hang out and spend the next 15, 20 minutes asking some questions about the presentation or just in general. And we have Dave here. I think Corey's might have dropped, but all right. So Nolan on Facebook, this is great content you're covering. Thank you, Nolan. I'm glad this resonated. Oh, Corey's still here. Anyway, so if you have a question, just drop it in the comment on Facebook. I'll try to address it. Or if you're in Zoom, raise your hand or drop it in the chat, and I'll basically unmute yourself, and you can ask it. Is it okay to share my URL here? Yeah, you guys can share whatever in the chat, in the group as well. Like I'd like the Facebook group to be more active. It's really quiet in there. So I know, there's a lot of talent in the group. There's a lot of experience in the group. There's, if anybody has questions, I'm sure somebody can help. So I want this to become a community. And yeah, share the group, share the challenge. Today is more like orientation, kind of like, Christening the ground day. The meat and potatoes will be more day 2 to 5. So there's still time for others to join. If you're on the fence or they think it's a scam, they think it's a pyramid scheme, whatever, you can go and say, no, it's not. Just kind of like share your experience with day 1 in other groups, whatever, on your own social profiles. That would be awesome. All right. We got Wes with Robusta Move Coffee. Okay, we already know you. Alan with Sentry Outfitters. I've dropped some comments in the group on that. So, anyways, who has questions? Now's the time. Anything you want to add or challenge us on anything? That's it. Educating people that there are a variety of businesses and pyramid schemes that are not legal. Okay, yeah. So, sure. The word on that. There's a lot of scams out there and snake oil salesmen, and there, like I said, there's a lot of information now. But when I started, there wasn't. So now you almost have to filter the information. Like, is the person sharing the information legit? Do they have the experience, or are they just regurgitating stuff that they heard somewhere else and just like trying to pass it as their own? So later in the week, I'm going to share some of my own favorite resources and people that I follow, the people that I learned from, that like I have met in person or otherwise, that have accomplished something. All right, question. Will tomorrow presentation will be recorded? Yeah, so everything will be recorded and saved in the group. Like I don't want it to be where like people just don't turn up live because I can watch it later and then they never watch it later. I'm guilty of it myself with a lot of other sessions. So that's why like I'm not advertising the fact that a lot of these sessions will be available. A lot of these groups, if you have done this before, they would take this down. They would like have it up for 12 hours and then delete it. I'm not going to do that, but I really, really want everybody to attend live so we can actually have some live interaction. Also, it sucks just speaking to yourself alone on Zoom. I've done it last year and it's not pretty. So thank you guys for being here.
Pardon me, mate. Nate Henry here.
Hi, Nate.
Hey, so I used to run a pretty large company doing the exact same thing that I'm starting to build up again. But a big thing is trying. I knew what I was doing before, and I'm just redoing it. I sold my last company, but the question is how to avoid going too fast. I don't know if anyone else does it, but I know the building blocks. I know kind of how to get there. But now that I want to do it again after selling it before, I want to just rush. I want to like buy a specialist. I want to buy labs. I want to buy, like $1 million investment, which is not the smartest choice when I'm just trying to build up small again. I was too big last time, and it was just a hassle with family life.
I mean, it's without really knowing what it is, and like, it sounds like the previous experience you went too fast and it was a failure, or why are you afraid of going too fast? Right?
It was a success, but I sold it. It was comfortable, but I decided to pursue medicine at the start of COVID. I used to be a medic with the military, and so I went back to the medicine route because it was kind of more fulfilling. And now I want to go back to business ownership because it's a pretty damn good life being your own boss.
Hey, Nate. My name is Bill Mickelson. I'm from Kelowna. Just out of curiosity, what was the business?
I used to run a hearing protection, but also pre-employment and ongoing employment services. Something like audiometric testing, drug testing, health and fitness, or not fitness, health and pre-employment.
Yeah, no, totally understand that. Good. I've been in business for a while, and actually what intrigued me with this, first of all, Greg, thank you very much for hosting this and putting all this together. Super awesome. Dave, Corey, and Nicholas when he gets here. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. My business right now, I've slowly grown it, but if I could have grown it faster, I probably would have. My end goal, there isn't big enough, really. I want more. At the end of the day, I want more clients to be happy. I want more revenue. I want more people to share in that revenue. I want to increase people's lifestyles. I want to help other families grow. So I don't think too big is too fast. What I think and what I experienced was not having the support. Entrepreneurship, it can be the greatest thing, and a lot of times it sucks. It is, there's nobody else. It is you, and that is it. It's but it's the most fulfilling thing, as you already know. But the support, I don't know anything about accounting. That's why I have accountants. I don't know anything about marketing. That's why I have marketers. I know enough to know when it's not going well, but I don't know how to do it. And really, that's not what I'm doing. I'm more of, I would say, vision. So as you grow, let it grow organically for a while, until you need to push farther. Meaning, if you're supporting yourself with your job right now and you're starting your new business, let it get a great foundation and then start to push. That way you can do the transition from your job to moving to your career or your new business. But yeah, if you loved what you do, I wouldn't even say that. If you found it challenging and it was fulfilling, just go and do it, man. Just get it started. Yeah.
Thanks, Bill. I appreciate that you like this event, and to your point, entrepreneurship is the loneliest profession in the world. That's part of the reason why we want to have this group, to build a community that we can support each other, if especially if you do feel lonely. But on Nate's question, so I think Luke wrote in the comments, success loves speed. I think Tony Robbins said it. So definitely, success loves speed. At the same time, remember, we used to say slow is smooth, smooth is fast. And to tie it all together, there's a business consultant that I'm going to cite tomorrow, Alex Hormozy. He says in his experience, they value a lot of businesses. Most businesses, they don't die from starvation, they die from indigestion. So which means, like, if you move too fast, all of a sudden your fulfillment starts to slip. So, like, to give you an example, in the marketing agency world, a lot of them are like sell, and then they actually don't do the work. So, like, I had a veteran-owned ex-Marine American agency try to sell me Facebook ad services. He had fucking 5 sales guys on every call, and there was one guy who was doing the actual Facebook ads. So needless to say, they failed, and unfortunately, I had to charge them back. I mean, water under the bridge, but I think part of the problem was that they were very aggressively acquiring new clients, and they didn't have the infrastructure to serve those clients well. And that's why that particular engagement was a failure in my book. So I think that's maybe why you don't want to go too fast, to the point where you acquire a bunch of business, and then you're not able to fulfill. So maybe that's why.
That was kind of why I sold. Is I was the main supplier for like Suncor, CNRL, a lot of like big companies, all the mills in like Western Canada. But then I was working 140-hour weeks, like just an insane amount of time. And that's why I kind of stepped away. Is I could have hired more people, but then quality control.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely. We'd love to support you the way we can with the community and some of the advice here. So and I'm sure your experience will be invaluable to some other members who are in the group. And yeah, that's why I encourage sharing. Like everyone's so shy, and like no one's like wants to post anything or share anything. And I hope that changes. Anyways, Dave, you have your hand up, or?
Yeah, I do. Actually, it was related to a previous point, and I think I've lost it now. But I guess I'll just follow on with the going too fast aspect. And I was literally going to bring up Alex Hormozy as well. So we share a lot of the same, a lot of commonalities there. Yeah, I mean, I think it was Bill, was it Mickelson, that piped in there to comment on just like abundance, your relationship with money, with success, can be hindered. And I think, Greg, you touched on this,
can be hindered by our service because we have ingrained humbleness. We don't like to self-promote, and the idea of getting wildly successful can be criticized. And it's a very Canadian sentiment. It's a very Canadian thing to experience, in my opinion. And so therefore, you have to get comfortable with that success. And if you do get large, that's awesome. What are you going to do with it? Now, most of us, I can assume, are relatively virtuous, and we want to do good with what we end up creating. And that's something that I had to come to grips with when I first started. I started coaching guys for $90 a month. Now, if you put that in perspective, that is undercharging by almost 4 times, what a personal trainer typically would charge with the same amount of qualification and experience. So once you get comfortable with that feeling of, hey, like, I'm worth this amount, and what am I going to do with this abundance is to give back, then it becomes a no-brainer. I need to grow more. I need to make more. And it's not for greed. It's not to like hoard it. You're going to bring joy to your family, to others, to, other organizations. So that was just my point. So if you can go fast, great. But like you pointed out, Greg, that was a great point. Indigestion, you die from indigestion, not from just starvation. If you can't fulfill, then that's it's going to be your death now, because people are going to say that you can't fulfill, and then your business is dead. So.
Hey, Dave. Sorry, it's Bill again. I like to talk sometimes, but only because I'm excited to be here. And the reason why, okay, so just to give you a background, this is my 4th business starting up, or I've started up. We've been doing this for a while now. This year, we're going to be doing revenue just under 3 million. We install IKEA kitchens, and I have various amounts of staffs here and there. So a couple things for those people that want to become entrepreneurs. No one cares. Okay, nobody really cares. So just know that. And no one owes you anything. When I say no one owes you anything, is you can market a bad idea till you're dead and you're not going to sell very much, but nobody owes you anything. So it is tough. Dave alluded to the fact that we, as members of the military or former members of the military, yeah, Corey, you're right. No one's coming to help you too. You got to ask. Is that we're humble. We don't have medals. We don't get medals for for tying our shoelaces. We don't get medals for hardly anything, hardly any recognition. But we work hard. We have that grit. And the one cool thing about this thing, Greg, once again, I'll say thank you, is that this is a forum that's been missing for a long, long time. I got a couple friends here in Kelowna that are veterans, that are business owners, and the amount of knowledge out there just from vets themselves is crazy. And this is something that I've already alluded to on my Instagram, but within the next 6 to 8 months, there will be a conference regarding veteran businesses, guaranteed. But yeah, thanks guys. This is awesome. I'm just really excited to be here.
This is music to my ears, man. This is what I really thanks, Bill. Okay, some questions in the comments. So about self-promotion. We're told not to stick out, be the gray man, be humble to fall. You know what? Like, I'm going to flip it on its side a little bit. I think self-promotion will only get you so far. Like, if you look at the trends now, at least on social media, it's all about education. So like, if I came out and like most of you here, they came through an ad. Like, did my ad say, I am so fucking great, here's my Lambo, here's my fucking jet, here's my shit? No, it had nothing to do with it. It was like, we're going to bring some entrepreneurs together to share knowledge, and that's what drew people in. Yeah, and those were like kind of like last minute put together ads. There it wasn't like a very thought out campaign, but like if you don't like self promote in terms of like, look at me, buy my stuff, but more like this is the knowledge, this is education, this is the content, and we're going to cover that later in the week. But essentially, I think that thanks, Craig. Good to see you, man. Yeah, so I think that's what you can do if you're afraid to self-promote, is like, don't promote yourself. Don't say, look at me, but like say, like, educate people, help them with valuable content, advice, and sharing experiences. I think that's going to go a lot farther than just like shameless promo. Any other things here? There was a question about financing, where to get seed money and capital. So I think that's going to be in day 4, day 5 about raising capital and taking on debt. But very quickly, there are first of all, there are like grants and things available to veterans in Canada. There's some programs with like True Patriot Love and a few others that actually have money set aside for veteran initiatives. There's also, the conventional, like, banking and small business lending that is available. And there are, incubators and VC kind of funds more for startups, but like where you can get some money for your ideas. And there's always Dragon's Den. Like there's a guy I was trying to get on the call where they are. I saw the news. They could be the next unicorn in Canada, and it's 2 guys. One is an ex-cop, one is an ex-military out of Ottawa. It's Will Thompson. Basically, RV Easy. It's like Airbnb for RVs. They started right before COVID, I think. And they blew up during COVID. And like I think last year they did like 50 million, and this year I think they're gonna do 100. And they're valued at $1 billion. It's a fucking guy, that just like one of us, man. So they did it with basically the Dragon's Den money, and then there was another investor that found them through Dragon's Den that was ex-owner of, I don't know if I'm giving it away, but he was basically a very successful businessman in Canada that had a bunch of money from an exit that he did earlier, and he invested and coached the team, and that's how they were able to grow. All right. Yeah, Corey had 19. That's a fund in Ottawa, $50 million fund. They're mostly for defense innovation. So like if you have something to do with like a tactical equipment or cybersecurity or something like that with defense, that they're going to probably talk to you. If it's something more not defense related, they probably won't be able to help. But yeah, there's it's an ex JTF2 officer that started it. 19 in the comments. So. All right. Any other questions, guys? Anybody wants to drop a question in the chat or Facebook comments, or just unmute yourself and come online? Just, I have time. If you guys want to hang out, I'm okay. Or if the chat is on fire. Yeah, there's like book suggestions in the chat. I wish we could just show it on the screen for everybody, but yeah, no, this is really great. Trying to see other questions. There was a question earlier about SEO. So again, this is kind of like more of a hands-on stuff, but there was somebody earlier asked like about search engine optimization. That's just one way of getting visitors to your website, and it's not the only way. There are, you basically, what I know about it is like you just have to provide good content on your website that is very readable and shareable, and this is how you get good SEO. Everything else is like people trying to game the system. So whoever's trying to sell you SEO services, they sometimes may utilize dirty tactics, and then it will bite you in the ass later. But essentially, like just make epic shit and tell people about it, and that's how you win at the content game. Again, I'm not an expert. I'm still learning on the content game. It's an ever evolving thing, but essentially, you just gotta make shareable content, whether it's written form or video or whatever. And again, more on that later in the week. Desi Cozier, to everyone, excellent information provided so far. Thank you. Guys, thank you. I mean, I really love the the love being spread in the comments. Like this really has been a long journey, and I'm grateful for everyone who spent their evening with us today. Facebook question: how would you find work for helping people with website design and/or cybersecurity? So thank you, Hugo. So first of all, I don't think it should be an and/or. I think it should be an or, because web design and cybersecurity are two very different things, at least in my mind. And if you want to be known for something, you probably want to be known for one thing. Like maybe like cybersecurity can be like security website, like an add-on service in that context. But I think like in general, from what I know, these are two very different things. How would you find work for helping people with that? So again, more on that later in the week, but essentially you would probably want to help a few people for free or for a very low fee, and get some successes that people can vouch for, that have some success stories that prove that you are capable of delivering results, and then you use that as your marketing and to get referrals from the people that you already helped to kind of grow with business. So in a nutshell, that's probably how you want to do it. And if it's website design, then like also make sure that you have a great website that you can show that at least you've done mine, and then have a portfolio. Like when I interview designers, I usually ask, show me your portfolio, and then give me references of people you have done design for. So that's very important. Hope that answers your question. Michael, is there a cheat sheet on how each website algo works? As in Instagram videos do better at 30 seconds, not 50s. TikTok videos don't do well with motion graphics. Yeah, I think this is like getting very, very tactical. Yeah, we'll probably need to look into specific information of people who do that on a daily basis. With like, for example, they deal only with short form videos. I can't tell you from the top of my head, but also I think it's what works for your particular audience, Michael. So like if your audience prefers certain things, you just have to throw different hooks out and see which type of content resonates best. I don't think there's a hard and fast rule across the board that always works for all kinds of people. Mike, Greg, thank you. See you tomorrow. No, you're welcome. Do the homework. And I forgot, yeah, there will be a prize for homework. So we're gonna choose the winner for whoever submits the best homework assignment, and there will be prizes from Corey's company, from Nick's company, and a couple others. Is the homework on the Facebook page? Yeah, I'm going to share it right after, and I'm going to email it out. All right, Neil, thank you. It's been great. Looking forward to the rest of the week. All right, well, last chance for questions. If can I get free trading from Dave if I win? I think that, yeah, there's going to be a price. One of the prizes is going to be some sort of a training package from Dave.
Yeah, okay. Buddy.
I don't know. You don't know what you're getting yourself into.
Oh, so just Greg, just a side note. I'm Dave's business partner in Voluntold. So
awesome.
I'm being sarcastic when I don't want free training. Dave already gives me training.
Okay. Cool. Thank you for keeping the engagement up then. Okay, if there's no more questions, thank you. I'm going to flip through the homework slides very quickly, just so that people watching the replay can catch it. And I'm going to post it right after. But essentially, some questions about some of the skills, talents that you possess, also some of your past experiences, what you like, what you don't like. This is mostly for people who don't have an existing idea, just to kind of get their head into the thinking mode of what they want to do, and then you will kind of map it all out and identify common patterns in terms of like, like I really like outdoor stuff, and for example, I was involved with outdoor training in the military, like boom. And then the prizes will be for going live on the group and sharing your top 3 in a video. I mean, if you're really, really reserved about it, you can type it out, but I really recommend doing a video. So if you do a video, you get more chances to win a prize. And with that, let's end. Thank you very much for attending. Tomorrow, same time, 1900 Eastern, again, Zoom and Facebook. So see you later. If you can think of any questions after, just post them in the group. We'll try to hit them all. Cheers.